We're cruising along through life and stuff happens, and sometimes we get hurt. How to recover from emotional trauma. Let's take that on today. In my book, I titled one of the chapters, Surprise! Because I think this is a principle of life. You go along expecting that something's going to happen, and then something totally different happens instead. And you're surprised by life circumstance. Things happen all the time. Stuff happens on a daily basis. And in all of that stuff, sometimes we get hurt. That causes emotional trauma. So what do you do to heal from emotional trauma? I've come up with a 4-step process that I think is going to help us to get through this. The first thing is to realize that you are a human being, and human beings have very typical reactions to certain kinds of events. So let's call the first one talk. All right, step 1, talk. Share your story. Find some way to talk about what it is that has happened to you. So whatever it is, maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's the death of a loved one, maybe it's someone abused you or beat you up somehow. Maybe it could be anything, but it causes emotional trauma, a divorce, a bankruptcy, these surprises that happen in life and leave you with some emotional trauma. You have to tell the story. Some people do this with friends and family, and that's a really great place to start. You may also want to consider hiring a coach, visiting with a therapist, getting a counselor, someone in a professional setting that you could talk to share your story and to get it out. Just say it. There's other ways to do this too, through journaling and video records, blogging and vlogging. All of those kinds of things are legitimate ways to tell your story as well. There's just an innate human need to do it. You know, going back to some of my clinical background, when I was learning how to be a psychologist, I got some specific training on post-traumatic stress and how to deal with that. You know what the number one treatment, the number one intervention for a post-traumatic stress problem? It's debriefing. That's just a fancy psychological word that means talk about it. Tell the story. You need to be able to tell that story. Okay, now number 2, feel. Number 1 was talk. Number 2, feel. Allow yourself to feel whatever you're going to feel. This is a little scary to some people because it's not very pleasant sometimes when you start to feel the feelings that are associated with an emotionally traumatic event in your life. In fact, everything inside of you is probably telling you to avoid feeling it. Go ahead and feel it. Just this past week, I attended 2 funerals of people in my neighborhood that I've known for quite some time. Some people don't even want to go to the funeral. You know, whatever the funeral is for your particular trauma, if someone dies, the funeral represents an event that some people want to avoid because they don't want to feel what they're going to feel when they go there. I'm here to tell you, you got to let yourself feel it. This will make it easier. You're having a normal reaction to an abnormal event. Other people have experienced these things all the time. Frequently this happens, but not to you, right? That's the abnormal part. This doesn't normally happen to you. Whatever you're feeling, though, is a normal reaction to that abnormal event that has occurred in your life. So give yourself permission to just feel it. Whatever you're feeling, go ahead and feel it. And it's not going to kill you. It'll seem in the moment that this is going to go on and on and on. I have a colleague who made his entire career off of 2 words. Feelings change. And they do. This is going to pass. So rather than resisting the feeling or doing things to avoid putting yourself in a position where you're going to feel it, like attending the funeral, simply allow yourself to feel it. Plan for it. Take some tissues if you need to. Just feel whatever you're going to feel. It's an important part of your healing. That brings us to number 3. Remember, I told you I was going to give you 4. Now we've already got talk, feel. Now number 3, self-care. I know, I shouldn't even have to say this, but you got to take care of yourself. A lot of times when we experience an emotionally traumatizing event, we kind of forget to eat, to sleep, to exercise, to take care of ourselves in the way that's going to allow us to do some proper healing. The physical body that you live in includes your brain, and your emotional experience is very strongly affected by how you're doing in this physical body. Take care of yourself. So make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're doing regular exercise, even if you don't feel like it. This is emotional mood management that we're talking about. Get enough sleep, regular exercise, diet. Pay attention to what you're eating. If you're putting a whole bunch of garbage through your system, if you don't have the right kind of fuel on board, then you're not going to be functioning at the optimal level. And you need that in order to do some of the emotional healing that's going to come after the trauma. So take care of yourself. Find times to just be quiet and on your own. We call this in the industry, we call it mindfulness. And it's supported by things like meditation or yoga or exercise. But a time when you can shut everything else out for just a few minutes and center on who you are and why you are. One quick way to do this is to simply pay attention to your breathing. Focus on your breathing for a few minutes. Allow yourself to just be calm and focus on nothing else except the in and the out of your breathing. This is all about self-care, and that's step number 3. Take care of yourself. Okay, now step 4 is a little different. I'm going to label this one file. File. I don't mean go get a rasp and start hacking away at it. I mean put it away in a place that makes sense. When you file something and you put it away in a place where you can either do something with it later or you can find it if you need to. Here's why I think filing is important as a part of our emotional healing. You'll hear this sometimes. If you've been through an emotionally traumatizing event, let's say that it's the death of a loved one, and someone comes up to you and says, I can't imagine anybody actually saying this, but I think some people do. Oh, you should be over this by now. Come on, just pull yourself together, right? You should be over this by now. I don't think so. Some things we don't even get over in the traditional way of how, we think about that phrase, get over it. I don't think we do. You lose a loved one, someone dies. How are you supposed to get over that? This is a person that meant so much to you and filled up a part of your life that is not replaceable, right? I don't think you're going to get over it. So what I want to encourage you to do is to file it, put it somewhere, find the right place for it. It's really that instead of getting over something, we're accommodating it into our life, into our new normal. We're going to find a place to put it and do something with it that's going to be healthy. You don't want to forget about that person. You don't want to totally get over it. You want to put it in the right place. And it might be that you find ways to record your memories, for example, or things that were meaningful for you about whatever the traumatic experience was, what you learned from it, what you're grateful for that came as a result of it. And these things can be done in the context of personal development coaching or therapy. You can also do some journaling and find ways to pull these ideas down in a way that helps you to file it, in a place that's going to be helpful in the future. So we got our 4 steps. Talk. That's number 1. You got to be able to tell a story. Number 2, feel. Allow yourself to feel whatever you're going to feel. You're never wrong about that. You're having a normal reaction to an abnormal event. Number 3, self-care. Take care of yourself. Nobody else has that primary responsibility, so you make sure you're doing it. Make sure you're getting your sleep and your diet and your exercise and your mindful time. That's huge. And number 4, file. File it away where you can do the right things with it. You don't have to get over this. Let's just find a way to accommodate it. There you have it. 4 simple steps to help us recover from emotional trauma. Will you share that with someone who could use it today?